Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes life becomes so quiet, so familiar, so predictable, that we don't even notice how our comfort zone is slowly killing our spirit. It keeps us safe, it keeps us calm, but it also keeps us small. It whispers to us that there is no need to try, no need to take risks, no need to change anything. And because of that whisper, dreams begin to shrink, courage begins to fade, and the fire inside us becomes weaker with every passing day. The comfort zone feels warm, but it steals our strength. It feels peaceful, but it steals our purpose. It makes us believe that staying where we are is enough, but deep inside, we know we were meant for more. When we talk about potential, we often imagine it as something bright, powerful, and limitless, yet most people never experience even a small portion of that light because their comfort zone keeps it hidden like a treasure buried under years of fear and hesitation. Comfort has a very gentle voice, a voice that tells you to stay where you are, to avoid the unknown, to protect yourself from risks and challenges, and at first it sounds like wisdom. It feels safe, it feels peaceful, and it feels like you are doing the right thing by avoiding problems. But what you don't realize is that comfort is quietly covering your potential with layers of doubt, delay, and distraction. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, a small part of your potential goes back to sleep. Every time you avoid something difficult, you teach your mind to stop trying. And slowly, without you noticing, you become a smaller version of yourself, not because you are incapable, but because you stopped waking up the strength that lives inside you. Your potential is not found in the things you already know how to do. It is found in the moments that stretch you, pressure you, and even break you a little, because growth is born from discomfort. When you stay inside your comfort zone, you never give your potential a chance to breathe. You never force yourself to think differently, to act boldly, or to test your limits. You stay in the same patterns, the same routines, the same predictable days, and this repetition slowly takes away your hunger for progress. The comfort zone keeps whispering that you are fine, that you are safe, but potential does not grow in safety, it grows in struggle. It grows when you dare to do something you've never done before, when you challenge your own excuses, and when you step into situations that make your heart race because you know you are finally moving towards something bigger. Many people misunderstand potential. They think it is something that appears magically when the time is right, but the truth is the time is never right. Potential grows only when you decide to disturb your comfort, disturb your habits, and disturb the parts of your life that keep you too relaxed to dream big. Your comfort zone will always try to convince you that change is dangerous, that failure will hurt you, that embarrassment is too heavy to carry, and that the world is safer when you stay quiet and invisible. But your potential is a fighter. It wakes up when you say yes to the things that scare you. It becomes stronger when you accept challenges that others avoid. It becomes brighter every time you push yourself beyond what feels easy. The more challenges you take, the more doors open inside you, the more risks you accept, the more confidence you build. And the more you grow, the less tolerance you have for the small life comfort wants you to stay in. Your potential is like a burning fire, but comfort throws cold water on it every day. Comfort tells you that dreaming too big is foolish. It tells you that trying again after failure is unnecessary. It tells you that the pain of effort is not worth it. But every great achievement in your life will demand that you walk away from those lies. If you let comfort hide your potential long enough, you will reach a point where your dreams feel impossible, not because they were impossible, but because you trained yourself to never try. The truth is that you are capable of far more than you think. You have ideas you haven't explored, talents you haven't tested, strength you haven't discovered, and possibilities you haven't touched because comfort keeps you numb, silent, and still. Safety feels like a warm blanket that protects you from the storms of life, But what most people never realize is that this sense of safety can quietly destroy their dreams without making any noise. When you choose to stay safe all the time, you unknowingly choose to stay small. You choose predictability over possibility, routine over ambition, and comfort over growth. Dreams are fragile in the beginning. They require courage, risk, and a willingness to step into discomfort. But safety teaches you to avoid anything that feels uncertain, anything that might fail, anything that might hurt your pride, and anything that requires real effort. Slowly, dreams that were once alive start to fade because you keep convincing yourself that it is not the right time, not the right situation, not the right opportunity. Safety convinces you that waiting is wise, but waiting becomes a habit, and habits become a lifestyle, and a lifestyle built on fear will never lead you to the life you imagine for yourself. Dreams don't die in one moment, they die slowly. They die every time you say maybe later, every time you choose the easier path, every time you step back when life asks you to step forward. Safety wants you to stay where you are because it fears the unknown, but dreams live in the unknown. Dreams exist in the risks you refuse to take. When you stay safe, you stop exploring your limits, you stop discovering your strength, and you stop challenging your own story. You begin to believe that the life you have now is the only life you can have. You start shrinking your goals to match your comfort instead of expanding your courage to match your goals. And this shrinking happens quietly. One day you wake up and realize that the dream you once held so close is now too far away to touch, not because it was impossible, but because safety kept you from walking toward it. People often wait for confidence before taking action, but confidence comes from action, not the other way around. When you stay safe, you never build the confidence needed to chase something bigger. You never get the chance to learn, to adapt, to fail, to rise, or to understand what you are truly capable of. Every big dream requires you to break your own limits and face fears that feel uncomfortable. But when you choose safety, you protect your comfort instead of your future. You protect your fears instead of your potential. And in that protection, something inside you weakens. Your desire to grow fades, your belief in yourself becomes softer, your hunger for success becomes quiet. You start living a life that doesn't challenge you, and a life that doesn't challenge you eventually becomes a life that doesn't change you. Safety can also blind you. It makes you believe that keeping things the way they are will protect your peace, but the truth is that staying safe creates a different kind of pain, a silent, heavy kind of pain that comes from knowing you could have done more, tried more, achieved more, lived more. It's the pain of unrealized potential, and it grows deeper with time. Safety promises comfort now, but dreams promise meaning later. If you choose comfort today, you often sacrifice the life you could have lived tomorrow. Many people reach a point in their lives where they realize their dreams didn't disappear. They simply stopped chasing them. They stayed safe, and safety slowly built a cage around their ambitions, tightening it year after year until they could no longer feel the excitement of wanting something bigger. Your dreams are waiting for the version of you that is willing to take risks, to learn through failure, to walk into the unknown and trust that growth will meet you there. Safety cannot take you to that version of yourself. Safety will always ask you to stay the same, but your dreams demand that you evolve. And every time you choose safety over challenge, you drift a little further away from the life you were meant to live. Growth begins where comfort ends, and this truth becomes clearer the moment you step into anything unfamiliar. The comfort zone is like a soft cushion that tells you to stay where everything is predictable, where nothing challenges your patience, your discipline, or your courage. But growth is not born in softness. It is born in the moments that stretch you, the situations that confuse you, the decisions that scare you, and the steps that feel too heavy to take. When life pushes you outside your comfort, it is not punishing you, it is preparing you. It is shaping you into someone who can handle bigger responsibilities, bigger dreams, and bigger opportunities. But as long as you stay inside the boundaries of comfort, you remain the same version of yourself, repeating the same days, thinking the same thoughts, and living the same life without ever experiencing the depth of who you could become. Growth begins the moment you decide that staying the same is more painful than changing. It begins when you choose to try something new even if you feel unqualified, when you choose to show up even when you feel tired, and when you choose to move forward even when you are unsure of outcome. The most powerful transformations in life happen when you say yes to the discomfort that everyone else avoids. Discomfort is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It teaches you resilience when things don't go your way. It teaches you patience when results come slowly. It teaches you humility when you fail, and it teaches you strength when you rise after falling. Every challenge you face becomes a tool in your hands, giving you wisdom and shaping your character in ways that comfort never can. When you take your first step outside your comfort zone, it might feel like chaos. Your mind will resist, your heart will race, and your body will want to run back to what feels familiar. But familiarity is not the same as fulfillment. You can be comfortable and completely empty at the same time. Growth asks you to walk away from that emptiness and toward a life where you feel more alive, more aware, and more connected to your purpose. It demands effort, consistency, and sacrifice. It demands that you break habits that hold you back and build new ones that guide you forward. And every time you push through discomfort, something inside you expands. Your vision becomes clearer. Your confidence becomes stronger. Your belief in your own abilities becomes more rooted. You start to see possibilities where before you only saw limitations, because your mind is no longer trapped inside the narrow walls of comfort. The reason growth begins where comfort ends is because comfort protects your weaknesses, while discomfort exposes them. And once they are exposed, you finally get the chance to strengthen them. Comfort keeps you in the same environment with the same choices, the same reactions, and the same results. But discomfort introduces you to new challenges that force you to build new skills, new mindsets, and new ways of thinking. It forces you to adapt, and adaptation is the foundation of growth. Without being challenged, you would never know how powerful you truly are. You would never know the level of discipline you can build, the creativity you can unlock, or the emotional strength you can carry. Every successful person you admire has walked through discomfort repeatedly. They grew because they allowed themselves to be stretched. They allowed themselves to learn through failure, confusion, and fear. And that is exactly why they reached a version of themselves that comfort could never give. Growth is waiting for you just outside your comfort zone, but it will not come inside to find you. You must be the one to step out, to embrace the unknown, and to trust that even if the journey feels difficult, every moment of discomfort is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. Fear is a sign you're moving forward because fear only shows up when you step into territory you haven't mastered yet, and that territory is exactly where your growth lies. The moment you feel fear, it means you are stepping away from the known and entering a space that demands something new from you. People often misunderstand fear as a signal to stop, to run back, to avoid the moment. But fear is actually one of the clearest indicators that your life is shifting in the right direction. If you are doing something useless, something too easy, something that doesn't stretch you in any meaningful way, you wouldn't feel fear at all. You only feel it when the next step has the power to transform you. Fear appears when you are about to level up, when life is testing your courage, and when a bigger version of you is waiting on the other side. Yet most people turn around the moment fear whispers in their mind. They believe fear is telling them they are not ready, not capable, not strong enough. But fear is simply your mind adjusting to the idea that you are no longer staying small. It is not a stop sign, It is a sign that you are finally doing something that matters. When fear shows up, your heart beats faster, your thoughts become louder, and your body wants to freeze. But this reaction is not a weakness. It is proof that you are alive and moving. It is proof that you are walking into an experience that will teach you something valuable, something that comfort zones never can. Some of the greatest moments in your life will begin with fear. The decision to start a new journey, to change your habits, to build a dream, to leave a toxic environment, to speak up for yourself, to invest in your future, to trust your abilities, all of these moments bring fear because they carry weight. They matter, they shape your future, they create new opportunities. If fear wasn't present, it would mean the moment is too small to impact your destiny. That is why staying fearless is not a realistic or meaningful goal. The real goal is to act even when you feel fear, to walk forward even when your legs shake, and to trust yourself even when your mind is full of doubts. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to move forward despite fear. The people who grow the most are not the people who avoid fear, but the ones who use fear as fuel. They understand that fear reveals the exact direction they need to go in. If something scares you, it means it has value. It means it has potential. It means it will require a new level of effort, discipline, and belief. Fear highlights opportunities disguised as challenges. And once you step into those challenges, you realize that fear has less power than you imagined. Every time you face fear, it gets smaller. Every time you run from it, it grows larger. That is why so many people feel stuck. They keep feeding their fear by avoiding the actions that could change their life. They keep choosing comfort over courage, and comfort slowly convinces them that fear is a sign to stay still. But the truth is, staying still is the most dangerous decision you can make. Staying still means staying limited. Staying still means staying unchanged. Staying still means staying trapped inside a life that doesn't excite you. Fear is a natural part of any journey worth taking. It is your mind learning to adapt to a bigger vision, a bigger dream, and a bigger version of yourself. When fear shows up, welcome it. Let it remind you that you are moving forward. Let it prove to you that you are doing something meaningful. Let it push you to grow, to stretch, and to rise in ways you never imagined before. Routine can limit your imagination when it becomes a cage instead of a system. When your days start to look the same, feel the same, and demand nothing new from your mind or your spirit. Routine is helpful when it gives structure, but when it becomes too familiar, it slowly shuts down the creative parts of you. You stop exploring, you stop wondering, you stop thinking beyond the surface because your mind is no longer challenged to see the world differently. Imagination needs space to breathe. It needs surprises. It needs experiences that push your perspective beyond the ordinary. But when you wake up every day and repeat the same thoughts, the same habits, the same conversations, and the same patterns, your mind becomes comfortable to the point where it stops searching for new ideas. Your imagination becomes dull not because you lack creativity, but because your life stops giving it reasons to wake up. Many people assume they've lost creativity as they grow older, but the truth is they've simply stopped exposing themselves to anything that awakens their inner curiosity. When life becomes predictable, creativity becomes silent. Imagination grows when you step into something unfamiliar, when you allow yourself to try something different, when you break the cycle of sameness that keeps your mind asleep. Routine can also blind you to opportunities. You become so used to doing things in one specific way that you no longer see alternative paths or better solutions. You stop questioning your habits because they feel safe, but safety often comes at the cost of growth. When your routine becomes too strict, it narrows your vision. It makes you believe that the world is smaller than it really is. You begin to think that the limits of your everyday life are the limits of your entire potential. You forget that the world outside your comfort zone is full of ideas waiting to be discovered. You forget that imagination is not something magical. It is something you practice by exposing your mind to new challenges and new ways of thinking. When your routine becomes identical day after day, your mind becomes so used to the rhythm that it stops questioning anything. You stop asking yourself what you want to create, what you want to change, what you want to explore. You start living on autopilot, and autopilot kills imagination faster than anything else. Imagination needs discomfort because discomfort makes you think. It forces your mind to search for solutions, to consider new perspectives, to stretch your boundaries and break your own limits. When you do something you've never done before, your brain wakes up. When you meet new people, explore new environments, or learn new skills, your imagination starts expanding again. Creativity is not only for artists. It is for anyone who wants to build a life that feels meaningful and alive. When your imagination is active, you start seeing possibilities where others see problems. You start seeing opportunities in places others overlook. You start finding solutions that once felt impossible. But this level of thinking cannot grow inside a life that is too predictable. Routine might give you a sense of stability, but too much stability creates mental stagnation. You begin to accept limitations that were never real. You remain stuck, not because you lack ability, but because you have stopped feeding your imagination with new challenges. Breaking routine doesn't always require big changes. Sometimes it begins with small decisions. Trying a new skill, changing your environment, reading something new, allowing yourself to fail, starting something without knowing where it will lead, all of these actions open the door for your imagination to return, and once your imagination becomes active again, it influences every part of your life. It shapes your thinking, your confidence, your decisions, your dreams. It helps you see a future that is bigger than your present. It gives you ideas that can change your direction. But for imagination to do its work, you must be willing to step outside the routine that limits it and enter the space where your creativity can finally breathe. Small risks build a stronger you because every time you take a step that feels slightly uncomfortable, you train your mind to believe that you are capable of more than you thought. Strength is not created in one big moment of bravery. It is built slowly through small decisions that challenge your limits. When you take small risks, you begin to stretch your confidence, your resilience, and your belief in your own abilities. These risks don't have to be dramatic or life-changing. They can be as simple as trying something new, speaking up when you normally stay silent, learning a skill that intimidates you, breaking a bad habit, or pushing yourself a little further than yesterday. Every small risk adds a layer of courage to your character. You become someone who doesn't wait for the perfect moment, someone who doesn't rely on motivation, someone who doesn't crumble when life becomes difficult. Instead, you become a person who moves forward even when the road feels uncertain. Small risks are like small workouts for your character. They build mental muscles that comfort will never allow you to grow. Most people wait for big opportunities to prove their strength, but the truth is big opportunities only come to those who have already built themselves through small risks. When you avoid the small challenges, you weaken your ability to handle the big ones. You hesitate, you overthink, you fear failure, and you hold yourself back because you never practiced taking small leaps. But when you consistently take small risks, something powerful happens. You stop fearing life. You stop hiding behind excuses. You stop believing that you are not ready. You realize that readiness is something you build, not something you wait for. Every small risk you take sends a message to your mind that you can handle discomfort. And once your mind believes this, your life begins to change. You start making decisions based on possibilities instead of fears. You start choosing growth over comfort. You start moving toward the future you want rather than staying stuck in the present you dislike. Small risks also teach you how to fail without breaking. When you take a small risk and it doesn't work out, the failure is small too. You learn from it, you adjust, you grow, and you try again with more wisdom. This process builds emotional strength that nothing else can replace. Failure becomes a lesson instead of a wound. Mistakes become teachers instead of reasons to quit. You start to understand that failing is not the opposite of success, it is part of the journey toward it. The more small risks you take, the more comfortable you become with uncertainty. You stop demanding perfection from yourself. You stop waiting for guarantees. You learn how to adapt, how to think creatively, and how to find solutions even when things don't go as planned. This adaptability becomes one of your greatest strengths because life will always bring challenges, and the people who win are not the ones who avoid risks, but the ones who are capable of adjusting and continuing no matter what. Small risks also connect you with a deeper version of yourself. They reveal your hidden strengths, your hidden talents, and your hidden potential. They show you what you can handle, what excites you, what scares you, and what drives you. They help you build trust in yourself and self. Trust is the foundation of confidence. When you trust yourself, you stop depending on the approval of others. You stop waiting for someone to validate your decisions. You stop doubting your abilities. You start leading your life with courage instead of fear, and all of this begins with small risks. Over time, these small risks turn into major shifts in your life. You become stronger, more confident, more capable, and more willing to chase the life you want. You don't need to take giant leaps. You just need to take consistent small ones, because every small risk taken today becomes the strength you will rely on tomorrow. Change demands discomfort because every transformation requires you to let go of a version of yourself that feels familiar, even if that version is holding you back. The human mind loves patterns. It loves predictability. It loves routines that feel safe. And that is why change always feels uncomfortable. You are not just changing your actions. You are changing your identity, your beliefs, your habits, and sometimes even the people around you. Change pulls you away from the familiar environment that shaped you, and it forces you to walk into a space where you have no guarantees. That discomfort is necessary because it wakes you up. It makes you pay attention. It pushes you to think deeper, act differently, and approach life with a level of awareness you never needed before. Without discomfort, you would remain the same, repeating the same days and wondering why nothing improves. Real change begins the moment you stop searching for comfort and start accepting the temporary chaos that comes with growth. Discomfort shows you what you need to work on. It exposes your weaknesses, your fears, your insecurities, and your excuses. When you try to change something in your life, your lifestyle, your habits, your mindset, you immediately feel resistance. That resistance is your old self trying to survive. It is your comfort zone trying to keep you in place. It is your mind trying to protect you from the unknown, even if the unknown holds a better future. This resistance is not a sign that the change is wrong. It is proof that the change is meaningful. Nothing inside you resists something small or meaningless. You only feel discomfort when you are moving towards something bigger, something that requires you to evolve. If change felt easy, everyone would do it. But the truth is that meaningful change demands a level of emotional strength that comfort cannot give you. You must step into the discomfort, sit with it, breathe through it, and keep moving anyway. When you face discomfort consistently, you build resilience. You develop the ability to keep going even when everything feels heavy. You learn to trust yourself even when the future is uncertain. You learn to stay calm in situations that once overwhelmed you. This resilience becomes your greatest asset, because life will always bring moments of difficulty, loss, pressure, and confusion. The people who grow through these moments are not the ones who avoid discomfort, but the ones who accept it as part of the process. Every transformation, financial, emotional, physical, or professional, requires you to be uncomfortable before you become powerful. You cannot upgrade your life while clinging to the patterns that created your old one. Something has to break. Something has to shift. Something has to be left behind. Discomfort is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Change also demands new habits, and new habits are uncomfortable because they replace old behaviors your mind has practiced for years. Waking up earlier, working with focus, training your body, improving your discipline, speaking confidently, choosing better environments. None of these things feel comfortable in the beginning. They feel strange, heavy, tiring, and unfamiliar, but as you continue, discomfort becomes progress, and progress becomes confidence. Eventually, the habits that once felt impossible become natural. The person you once dreamed of becoming slowly becomes you. But this transformation cannot happen without passing through discomfort. Discomfort is not the punishment, it is the pathway. It is the sign that you are on the right track. It is the evidence that you are rewriting your story with your own hands. And the more discomfort you accept, the more powerful your transformation becomes, because change can only enter the life of someone willing to step away from who they were and walk courageously toward who they are becoming. Regret comes from staying the same because every time you choose comfort over growth, you create a future version of yourself who looks back and wonders why you didn't try harder, why you didn't move sooner, why you didn't believe in your own possibilities. Regret is not born from failure, it is born from inaction. It comes from all the moments you stayed silent when you should have spoken, all the chances you ignored when your heart was asking you to take a step, all the opportunities you turned away from because you felt afraid or unprepared. Regret grows slowly, quietly, almost invisibly, until one day it becomes a weight you can no longer ignore. Staying the same may feel safe today, but it becomes painful tomorrow, because the life you are living now may not be the life you truly desire. And when you keep repeating the same habits, the same patterns, the same excuses, you create a future that looks exactly like your past, and that is where regret begins. Regret shows up when you realize you had potential you didn't use. It appears when you see others moving ahead and you know deep inside that you could have done the same. It appears when you look at a dream you once loved and realize you let it fade because the effort felt too heavy or the risks felt too big. The saddest part of regret is that it always comes when the moment is gone, when you can no longer go back and choose differently. Regret does not come from trying and failing. That kind of pain heals and becomes wisdom. Regret comes from not trying at all, and that kind of pain lingers because it carries the weight of what if. What if you had started? What if you had stayed consistent? What if you had been brave for just 5 more minutes? These questions don't leave your mind easily because they reflect the truth you avoided. Staying the same feels harmless in the moment, but it becomes the biggest thief of happiness and confidence in the long run. People often believe that changing is risky, but staying the same is far more dangerous. When you choose to remain in the same environment, the same mindset, the same limitations, you close the door to the possibilities waiting for you. Life keeps moving whether you move or not. Opportunities appear and disappear. Seasons of growth open and close. And when you stay still, you eventually find yourself behind, watching the world progress while you remain stuck in a cycle that no longer represents who you want to be. Regret is the realization that you had the power to change, but you refused to use it. It is the awareness that you were capable, but you chose comfort. It is the understanding that the life you are living is smaller than the life you could have lived if you simply allowed yourself to grow. Staying the same might feel easier today, but one day it becomes the reason you feel disconnected from your goals, your dreams, and even from yourself. Regret also comes from knowing that time does not pause for anyone. You cannot repeat your 20s, 30s, or 40s. You cannot reclaim the energy, the fire, or the dreams that belong to a younger version of you if you keep ignoring them. Every year you stay the same as a year, you lose the chance to build something meaningful. Over time, your mind becomes tired of the excuses, your heart becomes tired of waiting, and your spirit becomes tired of carrying unfulfilled dreams. This emotional exhaustion turns into regret. It becomes a constant reminder that you stayed small when you were meant to expand. The truth is that change may feel uncomfortable, but staying the same becomes unbearable. Comfort protects you today, regret punishes you tomorrow. And the pain of regret lasts far longer than the temporary discomfort of growth. When you look back on your life, what will hurt the most are not the mistakes you made, but the chances you didn't take, the steps you didn't attempt, and the version of yourself you never allowed to come alive.